MMA booth, at their booth at the MMA show. They were certainly well aware that we were using EBS for as a consultant.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, Steve. Try to speak up. Maya had a booth at the show, and in talking to them, one is they were well aware that we were using EBS flooring as a consultant. Two is the figures that Greg has put in here are pretty much what they were saying in that range. They were also aware that we had requested the data from the past year. They did comment that a large number of towns are moving to tiered programs. That's basically what I got out of those conversations. I don't know, you talked to them too, Greg, if there was anything more to add there.
Quite willing.
Didn't seem to be very promising. I will comment on the governor's comments, although I missed the governor's speech. We did go to Jeff and I attended a budget meeting with Jay Gonzalez.
Yes, I think Mike was there as well.
Secretary of ANF.
Yeah, and he was very frank, and you know, basically, it's very clear that they're still working on a bill. The way I read it, and I read in, was it Barron's or one of the newspapers today, I think I forwarded it to you, Greg, their interpretation was pretty much along the lines of, this is what the governor is proposing, not necessarily what the legislature is going to approve. So, I mean, was to provide a window of opportunity where municipalities would negotiate a health insurance plan with the employee unions with a goal of bringing in a plan that is equivalent actuarially to the GIC. At the end of that period, if in fact an agreement could not be reached, then, and this is where it gets very gray, you would be forced into joining the GIC.
Right. And I was there as well, and the footnote why he said this. And it's very important, I think people understand why the governor has taken this approach. His words are exactly this: the taxpayers can't afford to pay overly generous health care benefits any longer. And that's the bottom line, and we're in that same situation. We're no different than any other town or city throughout the Commonwealth.
And by the way,
overly generous is the key. Jay
repeated that more than once, too.
I have it down 5 times a month. Just to say, I mean, to a $583,000 increase, okay, for health care benefit, that is overwhelming. And
it's a lot of jobs.
It really is. And I don't know how anyone, even the IAC, that can stand up and look us in the eye and say, something has to be done. It has to be done. It has to be done where it doesn't hurt the employee. I don't want us to do anything that hurts the employee, really not, but we got to get it back to reality.
We heard some things last week by EBS, some proposals that would not hurt.
No, very encouraging, and I want people to know. I think a lot of the town employees are probably hearing a lot of whispers, and there's a lot of, we probably need to start getting out and communicating. I really do. Even though I know we haven't made a lot of decisions, but we need to make sure we're communicating with the employees.
Well, we had a first opportunity last week to hear from EBS. I know IAC had one session with EBS before we did, right, Greg?
They have not met with these guys, no.
There was some session that was held.
No, we met with Maya before.
Yeah.
We've had Maya come up.
Maya. That was the first time we had an opportunity. That wasn't a negotiation session, that was strictly informational
It's
for us.
important that with the feedback gets out there, so we don't let a lot of rumors take over and cause people a lot of heartache.
So if we were to look at we go back to a few weeks ago when I presented what I call the budget shortfall, early budget shortfall, and then there was a worst-case scenario. In the early budget shortfall, the town was short for level services $300,000. That didn't take into account the $185,000 for the Quinn bill. And then if you assume the 33, no, I guess you don't. You take this 580, yeah, you take the 583 increase in health insurance, which wasn't in my plan.
Right.
That comes off the top. Then there's a 33,
66.
67.
You assumed a 10%.
What?
No.
No.
You didn't, okay.
No.
I'm sorry.
Best case scenario had a 0 increase in
The
health
worst case
insurance.
had it in there.
I'm sorry?
The worst case.
The worst case
yeah.
had, what,
But I'm talking about, I'm
2.5.
just trying to go from where we were
Right.
in the best case.
I see.
So we were at 300 plus 187 for the Quinn bill, and now, you know, 1/3 of the 583 number would be the town share. So, you know, the deficit gets up there pretty quick, and then, of course, on the school side, it just keeps growing. So clearly, you know, this is a big ticket issue that we absolutely need to address.
Mr. Chair, I may. I think I agree with everybody here that we need to address this. I also went to the federal health reform update, which was about what it means to local government. So you have the federal program coming into play, and then you have the state program coming into play. And not from a dollars and cents perspective at this moment, but from a service perspective, the concerns and what I'm seeing out there, all right? Val Patrick's plan basically says that we can have our own plan if we like, as long as it meets GIC standards, which seems to be becoming the standard of the day for the state of Massachusetts. And if we're equal or better, it's fine. However, when you go to a federal level, if it's better, then it may be defined as a Cadillac plan. And if it's defined as a Cadillac plan, it'll be subject to a 40% tax on the premium. My concern when I see what's going on, both on the federal level and the state level, I'm not sure some of the actions that we're looking to take are going to be as frugal and as careful as we think they are because of what's going on at the government levels, both federal and state. So that's a concern that I have. I agree, we definitely need to cut our costs. And I agree that there are many, many ways to doing it, but we need to be cognizant of the fact that whatever we do may not matter 2 years from now because of the federal mandates or even changing the state program. As I asked in both cases, and I wasn't challenged on it, so I have to assume that I was pretty much on the mark, as I asked that if we come up with a plan that's similar to the GIC and then want everybody to kind of model that program, then why don't we just all be forced to go on the GIC and forget about playing games and trying to figure out, well, why don't you do this, this, and this? It's the same as the GIC, so it's acceptable. So we might as well just go on the GIC. And I'm not advocating that. My interest is having total control of the decision-making. I know you and I kind of disagree on that, Steve, a little bit, but I think that I would prefer to see us having total control of the purse strings and how we spend our money. And I don't think that the state or the federal government's ever going to let us do that. So therefore, we really need to be careful, because we might be sending some people down a path of poor medical service, and that's a concern that I have. But again, I know we've got to cut our costs. So that's an observation that I've taken away from the MMA conference in which the governor spoke and many other people spoke.
Bob, Greg, is the 11.6 figure our figure?
No,
No.
no, we don't have our figure yet.
When will we be getting our figure?
Probably another month out before we get anything from Maya. Usually it's
Have we gotten any
February.
indication based upon our record, what happened this year? Because again, we're a small group, and that's how it's gauged.
No, no, because we're not far enough into our year. Our year starts August 1st, so typically, we'll find out fairly soon, but I
That
just
was
don't have that
February
information.
usually, right?
I think our consultant might be able to help us there, though.
Right.
Their claim is that we're certainly we should be on the low end if nothing is done, based upon claims.
You're not the median.
That's what I'm saying.
Not the median, so,
Right.
so the 583, based upon what our consultants told us last week, or indicated last week, is actually a high number.
That's what they indicated.
That's
Right.
what they indicated based on some analysis.
Analysis on
But it
our
may not
historical
be,
usage
their
of the-
analysis may not be consistent with Maya's analysis
I
of
guess
how
it's-
they.
I mean, I was very impressed with them. They were very good.
I
Very
think-
knowledgeable
I think
as
we have
far
a
as their
chance, yeah.
analysis, and my guess is that we've got some pretty good guys there
Whether it's,
advising us.
whether it's 11% or 5%, it's still a big number.
No, I know, okay, but I just wanted to be sure. I didn't think that 11.6 was our number. That's just the
It's
median.
not.
And what I heard last week was we should be on the lower half of the scale. So that's the outside number,
Yeah, we're still probably looking at a $300,000-$400,000 number.
which is still a lot of money. In relation to the Cadillac plans, if some of the plans that we get into or currently have fall into that category, it's that portion above the threshold, the premium threshold that's been set, that gets taxed, not the whole premium.
Right.
And, while we haven't gotten there yet, we're certainly pushing it rapidly with these types of increases. And when that legislation was even talked about a year ago, the federal legislation that was passed, we weren't closing all of a sudden, some of these municipal plans. As far as, and I've said it before and I'll say it again publicly, it's very important for our Insurance Advisory Committee and the collective bargaining units that represent employees in the town of North Reading to sit down and talk to us seriously about it. Change is coming, and it's getting closer and closer to coming. We knew it last year, but now it appears as though the governor last year proposed something and proposed something again this year, but we've got the Senate President and the Speaker of the House both on board in relation to some sort of meaningful change in the way that municipalities are able to deal with this particular issue. And I know there isn't anybody on this board that's looking to do anything harmful in relation to people's medical coverage. But what our employees need to know is that, the plan that they currently enjoy is under Blue Cross Blue Shield. The Group Insurance Commission doesn't offer that. So that if we don't come to an agreement, if the legislation is going to be somewhat in the form of the governor's proposal, and I'm not necessarily sure it's going to be exactly the way that he's proposing it, but my guess is the legislature is going to act on it rather quickly in order for cities and towns to realize some significant savings in the upcoming fiscal year. If they're forced into the Group Insurance Commission plan against their wishes, their health insurance coverage will change, because the Group Insurance Commission does not offer Blue Cross Blue Shield. So if they are serious about maintaining that carrier, the only way that they're going to be able to do that meaningfully and with a seat at the table is to sit down and talk to the administration about coming to some sort of an agreement as far as what the design of that plan is going to be. Change is going to come, and it's just a question of how significant of an impact is it going to be on the employees of the town of North Reading. and whether we're going to have a say and have control, and we don't disagree. I would like to maintain control here at this table and in this room